Himanshu, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, let Puneet sir come. He'll explain it to us like what needs to be done. I
Uh,
think it's already been recorded.
Conversation. Please start the conversation. So you and Himanshu are going to start the conversation.
Okay.
All right. Hello, everybody. Very good day to all of you. We at SOMP have promised you that we'll bring you a topper talk with a difference. We are calling it a Safarnama. As you would understand, it is a bit of both the Hindi suffer and the English suffer also, right? So in the preparation phase, our special guest Himanshu Gupta, who is rank 27, might have faced the suffering, and now he's onto a new suffer or the new journey that he'll be beginning. And since the service allocation has been done, Mr. Himanshu has been allocated Indian Foreign Service, and we wish him a very good luck so that he serve our nation well. And let me introduce you to directly to the person of the hour. Hi Himanshu, how are you?
Hi, sir. I'm good. I'm really good. Thank you.
Do you feel the deja vu? We have done it already. We are doing it again.
Yes. But no issues on that. We'll try to address all the things again.
So we actually had a topper talk earlier, but because of some audio problems, that turned out to be a waste of our time. And sorry, we wasted your time, Himanshu. But
And
let's
yes,
No
have a new
issues.
start.
SOMP apologize for that. SOMP apologize. Himanshu,
Never
so
mind, a new day,
being so
new start.
kind.
So Himanshu, tell us something about yourself.
Okay. So I'm actually born and brought up in Delhi, and as like I've done electrical engineering from DTU, from the same college. And after electrical engineering, I also worked as an engineer in a company called Qualcomm for around 1.5 years. And it was after my internship in college itself that I realized that I wanted to go for the civil services exam. So I started preparing for this exam from my fourth year itself. But since, as I said, that I had been working in the private MNC, so I had a break of around 1.5 years. After I resigned from my job, it was then that I started some sincere preparation for the exam. So this was my overall a third attempt. One was 2016, other was 2018, and this was 2019 one. So my option was philosophy, and
All
yeah,
right.
that's it.
So first of all, I would like to congratulate you. Like there are many less students. There are very few students like who they opt for their topmost service and they get it. You are one of them. You opted for IFS as your first preference, and you have been lucky enough to get that rank that you wanted. Right? How do you feel? Describe to us that particular moment when you got to know the result, the rank, who broke this news to you, and what was your reaction? Were there tears, or how did you cope up with so much emotions at that time?
Like when the results were going to be announced, I was actually not so much into like anxiety or anything. I was chilled out, and I on 28th of July itself, I had been to Prayagraj to give some interview for UPPCS as well. So I had decided that for one whole week, 7 days, I'll just relax. I'll watch TV series, movies, all those things. And in the meantime, if the results come, it's okay. And after that, I'll just start my preparation for the next attempt, 2020. So I was, as usual, on 4th of August, I was watching some TV series, and suddenly at around 11 or 12, gentleman, that is Puneet sir, only called me. He said that, okay, Himanshu Gupta, you are ranked 27. And I was like, kya mazak kar rahe ho? This cannot be possible. This is like way too beyond my imagination. So initial for 1 or 1.5 hours, I was completely blank. I could not imagine this thing. And after I told my parents and all those things. It was like there was a lot of mixed emotions. I laughed as well. I cried as well. I did every sort of expression that or emotion that I could express, I did that. So it was really mixed feeling kind of thing, and it took time to sink in for probably 2-3 days. So yeah.
So when we were earlier talking, you told us that your mother, your father, all your parents used to like come for your mains examination, sit there uh,
Yeah.
after outside your exam centers. So they were also part. A big part is played by the parents or the family or the support or the friends and family that you have. So tell us their emotions and how important their role was in your preparation and in the success that you have got.
See, a person's. I believe that one person cannot be made without his or her environment. One's environment plays a very crucial role. So that environment consists of immediate family, the a distant family, the school that he have went in, the co-students that he met, the friends, relatives, all those things. Everyone tries to influence you, your personality, and all those things. So since parents or the immediate family is the first teacher and probably the closest individuals that you come across, that you meet day to day, they are the most influential, and without them it cannot be possible. It simply cannot be possible for me to do anything. So yes, as I said also, like in the mains exam, I remember my mother used to come after every like mains exam, because I had not written a 3-year paper before, a 3-hour paper before that. So it was only the first time that I wrote in the mains exam a full 3-hour paper, and it was like really tiring for me. My hands were hurting a lot, and my mother used to bring all those hot packs, cold packs, all those creams for pain relief and all those things. So like these are some small things that you cannot express, like what is their value. This is like without this it cannot ever be possible that I could have achieved what I have. So yes, parents do play a crucial role, and when I broke this result to them, it was the same feeling as mine. I think parents keep see their happiness in their child's happiness. So that was the same thing that I saw. They were also really happy, and they are too
So
now also.
in
Yeah.
this talk you touched upon a thing like you did not write any 3-hour paper before. So I'll come to this later on, and I will
Yes.
surely going to touch upon this and like ask you what was the key mantra here. Like it's a very different approach. But before we start the real deal, let me set some ground rules. See, our
Hmm.
Safarnama is going to be very different. Here you are free to talk about name, not just talk about. You can name teachers, institutions, classes, which whatever you want, you can talk freely about. If you want to criticize
Hmm.
SOMP, do it freely. If you want to appreciate any other coaching, you do it freely. Because our goal of this talk is to help and reach out to maximum students possible. And anything that is available to the students should, if it is good, they should know it from you only, right? And if you
Yes.
have faced any issues, you tell them these are your friends, your maybe future batchmates, right? So try to help them as much as you can. And now
Sure.
we'll
Sure.
like go on like talk on the prelims, mains, and the interview preparation that you have done. Now the prelims has just got over, and the mains is approaching. So we'll keep it mains heavy. But just tell us briefly about your prelims preparation. How was it? Like you are a battle hardened person, I would say. For prelims, you were not able to qualify for the prelims twice. Is it right?
Yes. Yes.
And in the third time, you aced it completely. So tell us about your prelims approach. What were your learnings from your failures, and now that you have succeeded, what's your mantra?
See, as you said, I wasn't able to qualify the prelims in 2016. That was because of lack of knowledge itself, because I did not prepare current affairs for all those things. So I would not count that as a serious attempt. In 2018, I had done everything possible that I thought, okay, this is the thing that should be done for prelims. I had done each and everything: mock tests, current affairs, static part, multiple revisions, all those things. But still, I wasn't able to qualify the prelims. In 2019, I realized, okay, there needs to be some changes. Knowledge is not the only factor in prelims. It is probably like a intermediate factor, because you have to apply your limited knowledge to the questions, amount of questions they presented to you. So now my aim was on the quality of test or quality of MCQ that I am practicing, rather than the quantity of MCQs. Previously, I even had practiced around 80 to 90 test papers, if I can count. And out of them, I can say in 2018, I had joined this Forum IAS SFG program, special focus group something. So they only had around 110 or 120 half papers, 50-50 questions wale half papers they had. So if you count them, if you club them into like one paper, so around 60 papers from that SFG program. Then I had done many Vision IAS, Forum IAS, all other coaching institutes test papers as well. So overall, I can say it was around 80 test papers that I had practiced. But I had not analyzed what I am doing. It was just like solving the paper, seeing my score. If I'm scoring good, that's okay. If I'm not scoring good, I will just go back and revise my book. That's it. This is not the way I thought. Now I changed my strategy. Now I focused on the quality of test papers. So this time probably it was around 30 test papers only, not even 30, maybe less than 30. But here on each and every MCQ, I also used to discuss it with my friend, that what was my thought process and what was his thought process behind solving that MCQ. Even if we do not know anything about that MCQ, we used to discuss like how can we solve it. A problem solving approach, if you have an attacking mode, if you have of solving the question, like if you try to be in a kind of a Sherlock Holmes attitude, you have to find the right answer out of those 4 options. You can do it. You just need to find out the hints in the given question. I think that helped. That slowly that generated a kind of knack of eliminating the options and then coming to the answer. So overall, my strategy was this. And the second thing, the content preparation, in enhancing my knowledge in that also, I think prelims is the most intensive part of the entire UPSC preparation. So my personal strategy was to give it as much as possible. You have to cover width as well and depth as well. So I went for like many sources. Even for current affairs, I touched upon many things. But in this, I can divide the sources into 2 parts. One is the base material. By base material, I meant just I had joined this NK Yadav's crash course for current affairs prelims in 2019. So that was my base material. So for that, I think I had like revised it 5-6 times to just internalize each and everything out of it. After that base material, I relied on other secondary sources as well. But that was very selective approach, like just checking the index or contents of that compilation, whether something is missing or not. I'll just take it down from that and just discard the rest of it. So that is how I thought I would cover the each and every sources. So this is how, in a brief, I can say that was my prelims preparation strategy for 2019.
So there are many questions that I would like to ask you from the whole prelims preparation that you have laid out for us. Like, first of all, you told us that you practice some 80 or 90 questions, 90 papers.
Yeah,
right?
papers.
So there are many friends of ours who like go for the preparation by doing 100 papers, 120 papers. They set a goal that they'll do 30 papers each of Vision, then for Forum, then maybe whichever coaching institute that they can get their hands on, they try to do their paper and they prepare based on the question paper. What is your suggestion? Do you suggest such an approach, or what do you suggest to these friends?
See, I think the persons who are giving the prelims exam, let's say for the first time, they should focus on the books. They should focus on study material and all those books, because there are some things that you try to miss between the lines also. If you only go by the test papers, you might miss some between the lines things. But if a person, he has given like 2 or 3 prelims, or maybe he has revised a lot of textbooks and now he needs some kind of change. He needs some kind of newness also. Like he or she needs some kind of to just to check themselves that how are they in the content or knowledge part, then they can probably rely on the test papers. Solving the sectional test papers, they can, let's say if they need to revise polity and they are not like they do not have enough motivation to again pick up Lakshmikant and then just revise chapter 1 to last. They can pick up 2 or 3 test papers of polity, good test papers, and then just try to solve them. After solving those test papers, one again needs to go to the basic book as well. Again, one has to just flip the pages, whatever he or she thinks that I am lacking here, or I have not memorized this thing. You can just revise those things. So test paper strategy, I think that would work for senior people who have been giving the exam for a lot of time. But for freshers who are trying to give it for the first time or let's say second time, I think relying on books and study material is the better thing.
All right. Also, you said something about your peer group, that you used to discuss questions with your friends, you used to
Yes.
analyze your answers and then discuss it with them, then you came to a conclusion, right? So tell us about the importance of a good peer group. Like there are many people who go for creating groups on online forums. They look for some students so that they can discuss things, or they join library for this purpose. Like how fruitful do you find this thing?
See, for me, the peer group played an important part. I had like 2 close friends with whom I used to discuss for the prelims exam as well as for the mains part also. Even for the interview, they tried to help me. But finding a peer group might be a challenge for some people, and it is like I saw it somewhere. I listened from somewhere. They said that don't make a peer group from your best friends. It might be or your roommates probably, because it is possible that you might deviate from the topic that you are discussing, and you might start discussing or like chit chatting about other things which is not related to the exam. You need to find some serious people in this preparation. Otherwise, and those serious people I think can come from like acquaintances, not like best friends, but okay, good friends or acquaintances. These people can help, but also you need to identify they are serious or not. They are of the same level of preparation or not. If let's say you have given 2 or 3 mains, or you have given like 1 or 2 interview, and the other person, the peer group is a first attempter, it might be possible that this would be a one-way communication only. Then that may not help. So good peer group would consist of people who have kind of a similar level of preparation, and also according to me, they shouldn't be so close or so best friends, if like or they should be at least very serious about preparation when they are preparing for the exam.
I don't think it would have been difficult for you to finding a good peer group. Like Himanshu belongs to my alma mater, Delhi Technological University,
Yes.
and we have 5 toppers in top 50, right? So
Yes.
you must be having a very good peer group who all are preparing for the UPSC, I suppose. What's this?
Yeah,
thing
actually, I before the result, I did not know any of them. So it is like it may not be like a good thing, because the number of people in our college is also like it is increasing. So it is quite possible that you do not know the other person is also preparing for the UPSC exam. So you only get to know after the result come out. Okay, this person was also preparing. I didn't know. So this happens a lot.
So
everybody is
Himanshu,
preparing in silence.
Yes.
Himanshu, this question.
We have an interjection from Mr. Puneet. Let him
uh,
go ahead, sir. I think his line has broken up. Let's just continue.
Yeah.
All right. So, taking forward the prelims only, is there a magic number of questions that needs to be attempted in the prelims paper? Now, even this year we have seen 2020, and previously in 2019, 2018, we have seen the.
you sir, am I audible?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Himanshu, Himanshu,
Mhm. Yes.
I was the one who called you in the morning itself that
Yes, sir.
Himanshu, you are ranked 27. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, true, sir.
and and you were like, no, sir, no, please, नहीं, पता नहीं है, right?
My words were मजाक कर रहे हो क्या आपसे?
वही
Yeah.
मजाक करके, and I have that recorded conversation which I have shared on the chat.
Yeah.
हिमांशु, बात ये है कि what happens that there are times when people are struggling with the prelims, they get one single chance to write the mains, right? Like you were struggling with the prelims for two attempts, and
Yeah.
you got the chance in your third attempt itself, and you got 27 rank, but you were not sure. So, what kind of advice you want to give to the students who are writing their first mains in this year itself? Because a lot of people, I can tell you, lot of people who were not prepared, but they are getting 130, 120. There are some who were getting 130, 140 in the mock, but in real
Yes.
exam, they are getting like 80 and 90. So, if someone is writing mains, what kind of advices you want to give?
Okay, so this is a very good question, and like I would try to answer this by two, three things that comes into my mind. First thing is that I personally have not considered the result as a very important thing in my life. Like I always try to see that even the process of the whole exam, it is very important and very enjoyable. E- Even I saw this 2020 prelims exam, and somehow I thought, okay, I also want to write this prelims paper again. So it was like that. It is very difficult to come out of this exam process for me. I even after getting the result, it was like I was still checking all the current events that is happening, and it is very difficult now. Okay, I have been keeping busy now, but it was very difficult for me. So what I want to say is that the process or the journey, if you try to enjoy this thing, if you try to imbibe all those things and not bother about the result so much, it might become too philosophical, but probably this is true. The result is not in your hands exactly. It depends on a lot of factors that may not be in your hands. What is in your hands is the efforts that you put in at present, not even the past or the future. So if you try to put in those efforts, I think it should not matter much. And secondly, see all the people who are like first attempters, like who are giving first mains or uh, first interview or all those things, first prelims. Uh, what I realize is that there is people who are giving it for the first time, they do not have the exact yardstick or the standard from which they can compare themselves. This happened with me as well. Like I was writing my first mains, I did not know that how well am I performing. When I gave my mains, when I gave my entire all those papers, I still thought there was a lot of scope for improvement. There was still a lot of things that I could have done better. Oh, in that question, I could have written those things, that things, because I did not have a good yardstick that this is a good answer, that is a good answer. I kept my yardstick high. I kept that, okay, this is the right answer. After you give certain number of attempts, people tend to have some expectations now. They know that, okay, my level was this, I have to go at this level, then I have to reach this level. You have some comparison things now. For the first attempters, they do not have any yardstick, anything to compare. So you can, if you try to like somebody said, if you aim for this moon or aim for the sun, you at least get to the stars. So you can try to do that for the first time. You can at least try, okay, let me at least try to achieve perfection.
And
You should also, yeah.
and if I'm not wrong, there was only Himanshu in the interview batch who was saying, "Sir, please tell me what to do for the mains." You were the only
Yeah.
one who was concerned about the mains, and you were not thinking that you can get rank 27, right?
Not
Himanshu?
even rank 27, not even rank
Yes, yes, yes,
270. I can say, I can confidently
yes,
say I
yes,
was
yes.
not expecting any rank. I was
Thank you, Himanshu,
completely
for saying it because a lot of people, after getting the rank, they fool a lot of people. Thank you for saying this. And let's move to a wonderful question.
yeah.
Prelims versus mains. Okay. Prelims is like more about the facts. And mains is like even if you can skip non-cooperation movement, you can write something.
True.
So, so can you please tell that what is the difference between prelims and mains?
Okay. See, for prelims, as I said previously as well, one needs to be very intensive. You need to cover width, depth, all the things that come into mind. Even if you read something like 5 minutes before the prelims exam, it can be possible that you would tick mark that right option. But in mains exam, what is more important is, see, mains is a monologue. There is no person who can say that, okay, you have written this thing, this is not right, or this is, you can write, you have been given 2 or 3 blank pages for every question, and you just have to write things down. If you can relate that to the context of the question, you can write that. You just need to apply your limited knowledge that you have, and for that extensive preparation needs to be done. By extensive, I mean interlinkages need to happen. Polity, geography, society, environment, internal security, all these dimensions have to be added in each and every question. The paper's name is general studies and not polity and not international relations or not internal security. It is again general studies. Even the ethics paper name is general studies 4. After that, there is a heading, ethics, integrity, and aptitude. But again, the general studies, if you emphasize, you can write anything. Only the focus changes. Let's say a same question comes in GS1 and same question comes in GS2. Yes, the focus might change. Okay, you need to write a bit of IR or governance part in paper 2, and you may write a bit of geography part in paper 1, but you can cover as many dimensions as possible in general studies. So here, the level of knowledge that you have, that may not be very important, but the level of application of your limited knowledge, that plays a very crucial role. So if you can apply whatever you have, it is quite possible to fill up the pages and fill up them like in a good manner.
All right, all right. Before,
So, if I'll ask Himanshu,
Yes.
that in philosophy, what happens is that there is a lot of negativity about philosophy. Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm sorry. I'm asking this question.
no, 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 please, please, please go ahead.
Okay. Himanshu, you have philosophy option. Okay. What happens that people are so skeptical about philosophy? They are like, we are not going to cross 250. But
Hmm.
we know that if we can work hard, we can get around 280 or 290. So, what is your view about philosophy option?
See, for philosophy, I have always said this, that this optional has not evolved to the level of other good options. Like if you compare it with PSIR or geography or sociology, here after like 5 or 6 years, the optional itself has evolved. The people have been studying so many sources in there. If you see the answers of these people, geography optional people, PSIR people, you will see a lot of case studies they have been putting, lot of diagrams, lot of other things which are not given directly in the standard textbooks. They have been writing all those things. In philosophy, what we do is we always rely on this idea that it is a short and static syllabus. I don't know, but personally for me, this has been a myth for me. Like philosophy is not a short and static syllabus. If you try to go into the depth of the philosophy, it is a huge syllabus. It has a, like, even to understand 1 or 2 lines, you may have to read 20 or 30 pages just to understand 1 or 2 lines. So the volume of preparation is the same in every option. So
Himanshu, am
people
I audible?
like, yes, you are.
So, can we say that there is a thing that yes, syllabus of philosophy is not fast, but it is very deep. Can we say it?
Uh, I like I, I I can say that, let's say philosophy may not have that much of width, but it has
Yes,
depth.
yes,
It has a lot of
yes.
depth, probably more depth than others. So the amount of volume, if you compare of one optional with philosophy, I think it turns out around the same thing. It's similar to other
And
options.
and Himanshu, in philosophy, we have like one or two best coaching institutes, their notes, their videos.
Yeah.
How you have prepared the philosophy apart from those institutes? Because I'm 100% sure that you have done something else so
Yeah.
that you can get a very good rank.
See, I would like to add this to my previous answer as well. In GS, as I said, that people who are writing names for the first time, they do not have an appropriate yardstick or standard by which they can compare. Okay, this is a good answer. This is not. For philosophy, this was a reverse thing for me. I had realized the level of competition in philosophy actually. I had seen that people are only studying these two texts, these two study material of these two coachings, and only relying on this thing. If I try to just put in a little bit of more effort and just try to write something apart from all these things, I can stand apart from the competition. I don't know, but I had this much of confidence in philosophy at least. In other GS, I cannot say this thing, but in philosophy, I had this thing in my mind. So if you try to see the sources, I think I have covered a lot of sources because like my focus was optional. I have to be in like top 5 or top 10% in my optional. That was my target also. So in optional, what I did was you can actually take any name of source. Probably I would have seen that thing, and be it NPTEL, be it when too many YouTube channels, Shodh Ganga, Stanford website, IEP. But all these names that I am taking, it is not that I am covering them cover to cover. I am covering each and every word of these links. I am not doing like that, like this. Just as I said, there is a base material and there is some supplementary material from where you have to extract things out. I did that. Whatever, like if I am studying something related to, let's say, Heidegger or Husserl or any paper one topic, I am just googling that up. If I find some good research paper on that or good literature on that, I'll just very briefly skim that up, skim through that, and just find some good 2 or 3 lines that I can pick up and that I can understand and just write it in my notes or just understand them that okay, I can write this particular example in my answers. So I was always in an extractive mode when I'm looking for all these resources, that what to extract out of it and just keep it aside. Otherwise, I'll just discard that entire resource. So
So Himanshu,
even yes,
sorry, please continue.
yeah, even for like Indian philosophy, I had I had done a foundation course from other institute as well, and their sir helped me. So for that, there are many Sanskrit sutras. uh, as far as I remember, there are too less people who quote sutras, and to such an extent. Like for every school, I had around 10-15 sutras with me. I had also practiced writing the Sanskrit sutras in, like in English. When you try to write Sanskrit, it is in the phonetic language. ए के ऊपर बार लग जाता है, एस के ऊपर वो एक छोटा सा apostrophe लग जाता है. तो वो पूरा जो phonetic language है, that I had practiced writing in like in a very fast manner. So I have written that extensively this time in my mains. And even in the 15
Himanshu,
markers, जो 20 markers होते हैं, उसको मैंने black pen से भी लिखा है. इतना मैंने presentation भी थोड़ी कोशिश करी लिखने की. Yeah.
क्या ये जरूरी है कि हम उन सब सूत्राज को लिखें और वो सब वो करें हम?
सर मुझे लगता है थोड़ा सा अगर आंसर डिफरेंशिएटेड हो, दिस इज माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन, सिंस द
Okay.
मार्क्स आई आल्सो हैवंट कम आउट, मुझे नहीं पता कि
Yes, yes.
एग्जैक्टली व्हाट वर्ब और व्हाट नॉट डिड
And
नॉट, बट
your
आई
rank
हैड
20.
या
I'm 100% sure that whatever you have done in optional, you are getting around 300, minimum 300.
see UPSC
Unless
or everything, this is a black box. I can only tell
Himanshu,
what inputs I
unless
gave
you
and what are
get
the outputs.
300,
Yeah.
you know it.
So out of the output of UPSC only, I can just infer
Yes,
that
yes,
okay, probably these all my inputs worked out. I cannot say that okay, this only this sutras thing helped me
yes,
get
yes, yes.
300 plus marks or
Of course.
whatever marks that I have got. So my personal inference is that probably that helped, and I had confidence in writing that before the mains. Also, I had confidence that I will write the Indian philosophy sutras there, and I will.
Okay.
This actually differentiates my answer.
Okay.
So, but yes, I also try to ensure that this is to the context of the question. I am not writing something which is not in the context of the question and just writing it just for the sake of writing it. That thing I was not doing at all. And the second thing, I was always translating that. If I am writing an Indian sutra, I was always translating that into English. This is the
Okay.
meaning of this sutra in English. So
Puneet sir,
that thing I ensure.
And Himanshu,
Puneet
once
sir
you
and
told me that,
Himanshu. Puneet
uh,
sir, one second. Puneet
yes,
sir,
please continue.
on behalf of non-philosophical students, let me please request to bring back the discussion to GS.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could ask some
Piyush
GS
sir,
questions in
Piyush
between,
sir, there
and
was
we'll
one
just sprinkle
question.
some philosophy in between,
Piyush
right?
sir, Piyush sir, there was one question from the GS side, and Himanshu has told me that 1 hour 7 question has helped him like anything. So Piyush, what is your view on writing everyday answer versus writing the test series in 10 or 15 days?
Uh, uh, See, as I said previously, also I had not written any uh, like 20 questions paper in 3 hour format. So I was actually very, when the time for mains was coming up, it was around 1 month before the mains. I was really dreadful of like how would I complete the paper. Now I am focusing on quality of answers, but I was not too much focusing on the time limit. Now the time had come that I have to write questions in limited time format.
Yes.
And at that time, like I had taken a test series, I did not I did not like it as such. So I thought, okay, this SOMP program, I think that was mains hurricane that
Yes.
started in first week of September. So you only started giving those 7 questions and for 1 hour.
7 question
So
1 hour.
yeah, so I took that thing, and I used to sit in a public library.
Of course,
I
even
really on
your
my phone.
friend joined that,
Yes,
as far
yes,
as I
yes.
remember.
Yeah. So we both joined this thing, and I used to like follow that thing for like 10-15 days, and even after that, I did that myself also. So
Sorry
I
to
took some
interject,
like
Himanshu. What
yeah,
were the different programs of SOMP that you joined? One was this answer
okay.
writing, one was interview, and was there any other?
uh, like for the initial part, I for when I interacted with Puneet sir, it was firstly for the GS mentorship program that I had joined, and that was the like after the prelims exam. For the mains exam, I had joined this thing. Secondly, for philosophy optional, I had joined the paper 2 part test series, only the paper 2 thing test series. For such, I like interacted with Satya sir a lot then. And after that, this was a free initiative, mains hurricane thing. So I followed this thing. And yes, for the interview also, I had talked with Puneet sir a lot. So this was my experience with SOMP.
Have
All
you
right. And how was your
have you
experience with SOMP, if I may ask? We believe that we are a coaching with a difference. We do not follow the teaching pattern that the others follow. It's a kind of a mentorship. So how was your experience? And be very frank, be as critical as you can to us so that we can improve in the future and try to help our level best and do our level best for the students. Right? What was your
Yeah.
experience? And yeah.
See, my experience was good enough, but I always feel that even if you join any other coaching institute, it is also dependent on the person who is absorbing that thing. if he or she is not able to apply that thing, this probably would go waste for him. So yes, for me this worked wonders. So like for SOMP, even for GS Mains test series, I interacted a lot with Puneet sir. Like even the other tests that I was writing, I used to send him. Like these are the answers that I have written. So he used to take out some time, and we used to like talk on call as well. Like this is a good answer, this is not a good answer, and this is how you can improve. Even the GS Mains test series, I think the evaluation was very good because of the like structured way they used to evaluate: introduction, conclusion, body, conclusion, how is it, and what all can be written. So, and even after the like evaluation, written evaluation, they used to call as well. So on call also they used to say that in this particular question you could have done this. So I had full freedom to ask them doubts or ask for clarifications. So that was a very good experience overall. For philosophy also, this was very helpful. I had written like only one test. It was my lack of time that I was not able to write the other test. But even for one test, the evaluation was really great. And even after that, I interacted with Satya sir even for GS preparation as well. He helped me in GS also, and it was like his strategy only for time management. Again, as I said, I was really dreadful of that, so I talked with him also. So I tweaked his thing a bit, and for that I evolved my own sequence of questions that I would attempt. So in every GS paper 1, 2, 3, like there are 20 questions, so my sequence now came like this. So it was question number 1 and question number 2 first. There were 10 markers. After that, question number 11 to 20, all the 15 markers, and then again I would come to the 10 markers, like question number 3 to 10. So that is how I had fixed that this would be my strategy to sequence for attempting the GS questions, and somehow this worked. Like I was really afraid of like completing the paper for GS1, and when I completed GS1 like 5 minutes before, it was like, okay, I'm going to follow this strategy entirely. So it's for GS2, GS3,
And
even for
Himanshu,
GS4 I did that. Yeah.
if you remember one thing, I always say, do not worry about the time limit. Always think about the quality. Am I right? I
Yes, yes.
was kept on saying
Yeah.
it. Quality matters. And I think you are ranked 27 today. Of course, you have done well in all the papers. So I think quality matters more than the quantity. What do you want to say about this?
Uh, Regarding like quality, yes, definitely matters, but it matters like when you are preparing for the means exam. Initially quality matters, but after a certain point of time you will also try to write the quality questions within time limit as well. Yes,
Of
quality
course,
has not to
that
be is not to
we
be
have done in
compromised.
the end. In
Yes,
the
yes,
end, I was
but
coaching you.
time limit has to come only
Yes, yes,
after
yes.
after ensuring quality.
I
So
agree.
time will, yeah, the priority is like quality first and then only time limit. This should be the
Uh,
priority.
but Himanshu, there are lot of candidates who are putting their efforts. They are working very hard, but despite of
Yeah.
that, they are not able to clear the mains. I'm not saying they are getting any rank. They are not able to clear the mains. What kind of message you want to give them? Those who are
See,
not able to.
frankly, I'm not. I cannot say
I know.
anything because there are things which are beyond your control. So it might happen. Like even for me, this I would have not been shocked if my mains was not clear.
Of
This
course,
even for
of course.
2019. So I was preparing for 2020 even then. So I'm not sure what exactly works out or what does not. There are like I
But
have
Himanshu,
many
but
friends who
Himanshu,
are not able to qualify the means.
but Himanshu,
Yes.
they need your advice. Then what kind of advice you can give to them?
One thing that I can think of is, first thing is like your optional essay and ethics should be the focus area. What I also
Uh,
follow,
can I
and
pause
many
you
people.
for 1 second?
Yes, yes.
Some people treat that optional ethics and essay. It's a very good trade, and they are like, if you are good in this, then you are going to get the rank. Do you believe in this?
Like, yes, you are good in this, you can get a rank, but it is like, it is not 1 and 0, it is always a gray area. So focus should be essay, ethics and optional, but you should not like completely lose out your time, lose out your quality in GS papers. Everything is important, every paper is important, but focus should be on optional, ethics and essay, because you can score more than around 60% marks in at least optional and essay. Ethics, I'm not sure, 60% marks is 150, you can score 150 in ethics, but you can at least score 150 in essay, and you can score more than 300 in optional as well. No other paper will give you more than 60% marks in, like, general studies paper cannot give you that marks. So focus should be that, but yes, you will have to study for general studies as well. This cannot be like left uh,
So according
as it
to
is.
you, it's like, if you can work on ethics, essay, and in your optional, there is a very good possibility that you can clear the mains as well as you can get a rank, right?
Yes, yeah, you can see that.
And
Himanshu,
yeah, Piyush
Himanshu,
sir, please ask.
uh, among these three pillars that you are talking about, essay,
Mhm.
ethics, optional, you have spoken very briefly and a lot on philosophy as your optional. Just help us understand the philosophy behind your essay strategy. Like essay is a very crucial part of our GS. Like you said, like you can score 150, 160, right? So tell us, what was your strategy for the essay preparation? How did you manage that?
See, for the content part of the essay, I don't think one should go very much beyond the general studies preparation. One can complete the content part there itself. Only thing that one can prepare in essay is firstly the language, like the flow of whatever you're trying to express. Let's say you have an idea of linking one particular dimension with another, but if you try to put it on paper, you might not be able to express that in a very good manner. So having that command in language, having that expressibility is very important. uh, I think probably my a bit of reading habits and from the college itself, probably that helped in expression and all those things. Like we used to solve all those, like, various apps used to come in Android or all those phones. So we used to solve all those English things and vocabulary things or all those things. So I think I knew that my level is not that much below in those areas. Another thing that is important is the flow. Like, you have so many dimensions, from one dimension to other dimension. If you need to jump, that flow has to be there, and for that some linking lines, some good like linking paragraphs or something has to be done, so that your essay flows like anything. And the third thing is something like catchy things has to be also prepared. By catchy, I mean like introductions you can prepare beforehand, conclusions you can prepare beforehand. So those can be done. And the last thing I can say for essay, what I did was I wrote 4 or 5 essays, and mostly many of them from SOMP only. But apart from that, what I did was, with my friend, we used to do that rough work and planning thing. So even in the UPSC essay, for one essay you get around 1.5 hours, and in that 1.5 hours, my strategy was, for 30 minutes I would devote to rough work and planning. And out of those 30 minutes, around 20 to 25 minutes was the complete brainstorming, like it was entire rough work. And the last 5 minutes was, I used to take out a different color pen and just write 1, 2, 3, like which paragraph would be my first and which paragraph would be my second, third, fourth, etc. In that meantime, I used to also think of, like, what would be my linking line. So that flow thing now came up in the planning stage itself. Like, how would my essay flow? This would be my, like, if I, let's say, for a topic I say political dimension, and then probably the internal security dimension comes logically. It flows naturally. So I would mark 2 there, I would mark 3 there. And in that process only, I would also think of what good introductions I can think of, what conclusions I can think of. Only and only doing this part, rough work and planning part, I have done it around for 10 to 12 topics, mostly previous year questions only, previous year essay topics only. And I used to discuss it with my friend. So I used to take a big picture of this, and then my friend also used to do the same, and we used to exchange those pics, like put a conference call, and we used to discuss what would be my essay and what would be his essay. So we used to cross evaluate all those things. I think that helped to open our mind. So for any topic, it was very difficult to not think of any other, like we had a plethora of points. We were not in the stage that, oh, I do not have content for this essay. We had content. If you try to think of things, content will flow like anything. Only thing is how will you express them. Yes.
Himanshu, you talking about expression in essay paper. So many people try drawing diagrams also. Is it recommendable? Did you try such a thing? Writing poems, drawing diagrams, or maybe such kind of thing, stories?
See, stories, poems, yes, one can do that. And if it is in the context of the essay, it looks very good. I think it looks beautiful if you can actually write a poem. But for diagrams, I personally refrained from it. I did not write it. I can say that if it is very, very relevant to the topic, let's say a question, an essay comes on border areas or water management of India, there probably you can draw one India's map, a good India's map, and then you can show some of the things. But it should be very, very relevant to the topic that you are talking. It should not be inserted for the sake of just inserting the diagram. That I can say.
Okay, can we just move on to the third pillar that you mentioned, ethics?
Yes.
Just give us a brief idea about ethics also.
See, for ethics, like I had been preparing for quite a lot of time, but the major thing that I completed, like I thought, okay, my syllabus is completed once, was like I took some classes in Forum IAS, ethics classes, and there the class notes, I thought, okay, I have completed the syllabus at least once. I know what is the difference between ethics, values, attitude, morals, all those things. I know what is emotional intelligence. I have a definition ready with me. So all those things I had prepared before the prelims exam only. After the prelims exam, the first thing I did was revise these notes, internalize these notes. And I started doing that. And in the meantime, I joined a test series of Orient IAS. There were around five test papers there. The first test paper that I wrote with those Forum IAS notes that I had internalized, it was a blunder for me. I actually, I took 4 hours and I wrote around 2 case studies out of 5. And the section A also, I think I completed 5, like half of the questions. That's it. So it was like a complete blunder. I did not know what to write, and I was just starting to prepare, starting to write the answers. So after that, I realized, okay, I have to study more. I have to collect more things here as well. Then I started preparing topic wise. So what I did was I made some online notes. So for every topic, let's say integrity, honesty, there are so many emotions. Like UPSC previously asked on anger. One question I think was on greed as well. Then you can also think of other emotions like fear or hatred or many things. So for all those things, I tried to write a description in the first column. Let's say a definition, a good quote, or any other component or any other thing that I think that this can be put into the mains exam. And then I had 4 columns. So by 4 columns, I had 4 type of examples for ethics. I collected a lot of examples in ethics. It was like personality based examples, current affairs based examples, my personal life examples, and then also some general universal examples that I could think of. And one more thing that I did was I reversed this thing as well. So on every particular example, I thought where all this can be applied. One example, it is not that it can be applied only in integrity. it can also be applied in many other things as well. So I reversed this thing as well. So let's say a civil servant named Kiran Bedi comes up, and Kiran Bedi has done 2-3 things. I can apply this in, let's say, courage. I can apply this in leadership, integrity, honesty, Nishkam Karma Yoga, or so many topics. And I actually wrote them down that I can do this thing in this topics. So that brainstorming and that application helped me. And by the time I was giving the test series also, so all those test series and all those, the entire process probably helped me in writing the good answers in class.
One thing I would like to ask, like I was amazed when you said that you did not write any full-length paper.
Yes.
And ethics paper I personally find very difficult to complete, and I've seen it with many students
Yes.
also, that it's the most difficult paper to complete in the examination. So tell me your strategy. How did you approach your ethics paper? Like how did you do the 10 markers? What time did you allot to them? And then what time did you allot to case studies? And what was the
Yeah, so like even in the test series that I did, I used to write those test series in around 4 hours. Only the last test that I wrote, I tried to complete that in around 3.5 hours. 3 hours, I did not complete that. And when the final GS4 paper came up, my strategy was to, like, as I said in GS paper also, section A, question number 1 and 2, I would do firstly. Then I would jump on to all the case studies from 1 to last. And then again, I would come to section A, the question number 3 to the last part. So like first and second were good enough. In the case studies part, I used to take out around 15 minutes, bit more than 15 minutes also in some of the case studies. And there I used to complete all the case studies. And after that, I used to come to that. This 2019 paper, the last case study, I remember it was very vague. It was really like I could not understand what the question tried to say. So I left that in between. I did not write that. I jumped to my the other thing, like section A, completed every other question, and then when like 2 or 3 minutes were left, I came to this again last case study. I had around 2 minutes for the last case study, and I still could not decipher what the question is trying to say. I even still don't remember what I wrote, but I wrote around 2 pages in there in 2 minutes. So there are some questions which are like googly kind of things for you, and in ethics, it is also like you may not be able to complete the paper. Yes, one more thing I would like to point out in section A. Let's say the 10 markers, I used to write around 1.5 pages only. I did not used to fill the complete 2 pages because it becomes too lengthy. So in ethics, I used to write less in 10 markers as compared to the GS ones.
All right. So now we have covered the 3 pillars that you have mentioned. Now let's have a general discussion about the remaining GS pillars. Like what should be the approach that students should adopt, and both in the preparation phase, now that they are starting with their mains preparation, and what should be done in the day of the examination. How to approach those questions.
See, preparation phase, since the prelims exam is ended, I can tell what I did. So what I did was just after the prelims ended, I took a break for 1 or 2 days. And after that, I again took out my prelims exam, all those compilations that I had studied. From that, I actually just flipped the pages and found out what all mains relevant content there is. Let's say I had studied during prelims preparation some reports, some indices where India ranks at this, or many other diagrams or value added points or other reports. I took a small register with me and I just noted them down randomly. So this takes around 3-4 hours. You have like studied for the prelims exam the same material. It takes at max 3 hours to just flip all the pages and find out what is the mains relevant thing there, and just extract them out into your notes register. After that, I started like finding out what all value added things are there. So for like my major preparation for mains was in these 90 days period only. So I divided these 90 days into 2 major slots. The first slot, like of around 40-45 days, I focused on optional mode. So you can say around 80-20%. So 80% of my time was for optional, 20% only for the GS part. And after in the second phase, this reversed. This got reversed. So 80% was for my GS part and the 20% for optional. The reason behind this was, firstly, the prelims result does not come out like immediately. Second was the compilations, the current affairs compilation for mains, they also take time. So it takes around 30-40 days for the compilations to come up. So in the meantime, you can complete your optional at least. And the third thing is, because you have been preparing for prelims, you might have lost touch of your optional. So it is a good time to start with your optional first. So that is what I did. I started preparing for the optional. I completed my optional in around 40 to 50 days. And after that, I just was like revising that optional thing. For the GS part, from the start, I started doing answer writing thing, because I had not done a good amount of answer writing before prelims. So now, as I said, peer groups based answer writing.
One question on this. Like,
Yes.
when should students take up topics like world history? Because I find a lot of students wasting their precious time. These precious 40-45
Yes.
days, they devote at least 8 to 10 or maybe 15 days to the world history portion. Yes, it is very interesting, but it's very vast. But the ROI is very low. So when do you suggest to do such topics which are low on ROI?
I would suggest to do them in the end. But see, my own thing was, since I had been preparing for quite a lot of time, I had devoted around like 20-25 days just for world history, much before. It was around 1-2 years back. I took out those Vision IAS world history notes. I like converted them into Word document. I like studied them, and I like updated them edited them, all the world history notes by myself. And I had prepared content for that. I had read world history like before. And when the time for prelims and mains came up, I knew many things. So it was easy for me to cover world history just in a day then, in the later part. But I cannot suggest this thing for other people who are just starting for world history. I can say, let's take out like 3-4 days just to cover very, very basic parts of world history, that other people, at least if they are writing, you can just at least touch your competition. You can just be on an average scale here in the world history or these low ROI topics. But for other topics, you can focus on other topics at least.
All right. The discussion on the GS subjects and the ethics optional is getting very monotonous. So let me just on this lighter note ask you, like, there are many emotional ups and downs in the preparation. Do share with us, if you can, like what was your emotional journey in this preparation phase, and how did you cope up with the challenge of it? Like, there are so many things at stake for different people, and every year sadly we see post results there are people choosing the easy way out, right? So please try to help them, or maybe share your plan to, like, how did you deal with the anxiety or the pressure? And yes, please.
Okay. See, my first disclaimer would be that like I have been a very privileged person here. Like I got a job like just out of college, a good job, and being in a private sector, I saved a lot of saved lot of my salary, and there I only after that time I decided to resign from the company, when I had confidence that I can come back to the same company after 3 years of preparation. So I had like planned this thing out, like even if I'm not able to clear this exam, I can at least go back to the same electronics communication industry and probably go to the same thing. So it was not like I had very much of problems financially at least. And the second thing is, yes, anxiety and all those things come up. And for that, I have also faced ups and downs. Like there have been days where I have studied 0 hours of preparation. There have been like, I have played games at those times. I've played mobile games like PUBG तो अभी ban हो गया है, but PUBG भी बहुत खेला है. I have played Counter Strike and all those things like for the entire day. And this is also the time when it was between prelims and mains. I have done that. So, but just after doing that, I realized I had a lot of guilt. Okay, I have wasted a full day now. I'll have to again cope up with this, and I have to change my strategy, of course, and do some other things. So, like the day does not go out as you planned. So you may have planned like I will do this in polity in 2 hours, I'll do environment in 3 hours, and it turns out that you haven't even started out with polity after 5 hours. So it happens, and but in the end, I think one can realize that every person faces this thing, and if you just acknowledge that whatever you are facing, you can just acknowledge once, okay, I'm facing this because of probably a lot of exposure or probably a lot of studying. I can take a break or 1 or 2. Like just after prelims, I took a break of 2 days. I went out to some hill station with my friends, and then after that I came back, and then I started preparation. So that break, all those breaks helped. All those, if you talk to your friends, I have been on constant touch with my college friends. I constantly interact with them. We meet in Delhi. I have hobbies of playing like drums and percussion instruments. I relax myself there as well. So I have not yet like emotionally attached to the exam. I have never emotionally attached myself to the exam, even if the result had been.
That is actually good to know, Himanshu, that our toppers are not machines; they are actually real humans. and we have also got the answer to the most often repeated question of our Hindi news media, that how many hours a topper studies. So it ranges from 0 to like even goes to 24 hours a day. So here's your answer. All right then. Let's move on to the last segment, like the interview preparation. Right. If there is anything to add for the GS or the mains, you may add. But let's start with the interview strategy also. Right.
Yes.
How did you approach? It was your first interview. Like there is so much. There's so much that is said for the UPSC interview that it is one of the toughest that one could face. What was your experience? Those 30 questions.
See, for me, after the mains exam, I had realized that I had a lot to improve, and I was like pretty confident that I would not clear this mains exam at all. And this time mains results also came late, so I was preparing for 2020 full-fledgedly. I was not expecting like clearing the mains at all. And when the results came up, it came 1 month late, and by chance it happened that my interview was on the first day itself, 17th of Feb. So I had around 30 odd days to prepare, and for those 30 odd days, what I could do at best was just prepare my DAF, prepare my background, and some or like little bit of optional subject, and that's it. I gave around I took out time to give around 5 mock interviews, and in probably every mock I realized that the it is not the same as UPSC interview. Many of the mock interviews actually overhype what the UPSC tries to ask you. So it is a reality that yes, UPSC interview is not that tough, and one should also realize that there are people who have been asking me, okay, how was your interview? How was your interview? But see, interview is only 275 marks. The final list is made up of interview marks as well as the mains marks. So the interview does not hold as much importance as, let's say, in any other competitive exam. So it is not a very make or break situation kind of thing. The person like lowest marks, it may be around 100, 110, and the highest marks is 210 at max. So that is the only range that you can score. So if you just try to be good enough, if you just try to be I don't have a good word for this, let's say defensive in the interview. As the question comes, you just try to answer what the question demand is. Don't try to impress the panel. If you just try to
But
answer what has been
Himanshu,
asked directly,
at
I think that helps.
SOMP, Himanshu, at SOMP we have both of these things. Like you mentioned, you delved on these formal mocks that are
Yes.
conducted everywhere. So you talked about that. We also have an informal discussion with mentors, like
Okay.
one-on-one discussions. So what's your view on those one-on-one discussions? Did they help you? Did you attend such one-on-one sessions, or what's your say on it?
So personally, I did not like attend the one-on-one sessions. So I'm not sure what happens there. But yes, whatever discussions can happen, I think interview preparation is a time where you can have lots and lots of discussions. You can try to express your views at max. This helps in like consolidating and articulation what you try to feed. So any kind of discussions, if they are fruitful discussions for like related to the exam preparation only, that would help eventually. So all that
All
this
right.
is
And for students, how many mocks would you suggest? Like, is there a number in your mind? Like many toppers
I
say that not more than three. There's some say 8 or 10. They go all out, gives as many mocks you can give. Like, what's your view on that?
see. Frankly, I don't have any number. I just uh, for my capacity, I thought, okay, this is enough. Like 5 marks is enough. So I just did that. Had I given more time, probably I would have given more mock interviews. It depends on your level of confidence. If you are okay with your level of confidence, you can just give 1 or 2 marks. That's it. If you are like not okay, if you think that I can improve on this as well, I can improve on that as well. After a certain point of time, you can give another mark. So I personally do not have a particular number. Okay, 8 is good or 5 is good. I'm not able to say that number here.
All right. Himanshu, we already have taken a lot of your time and we are taking it twice now. So let's just wrap it up here. It was very good talking to you. You have been a great help. You have been a great person to talk to, right? And thank you for your help to the students. And hopefully, we'll have as many sessions that we could have with you, uh, talking to the students, right? Uh, Thank you very much.
Thank you for this opportunity as well, and I'm really pleased to talk to you. And if I get an opportunity, I can talk again as well. I don't have any issue. If I get time, I can completely like come here again. So there's no problem with that.
And that is very sweet of you. Thank you, Himanshu. Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night. Bye-bye.